So it's been nearly 1 year since the unthinkable, President Trump coming millimeters from death. An assassin's bullet grazed his ear. It left him bloodied, but not broken. He rose to his feet, fists in the air, but tragically, a brave firefighter lost his life. This Sunday marks that dark anniversary, and President Trump sat down with Laura Trump to reflect on the day chaos hit Butler, Pennsylvania.
I didn't know exactly what was going on. I got whacked. There's no question about that. And fortunately got down quickly. People were screaming, and I got down quickly, fortunately, because I think they shot 8 bullets. And one got me, and one got another one, and one got another one, and one killed Corey, the firefighter, great guy. Our sniper, within less than 5 seconds, was able to get him from a long distance with one shot. If he didn't do that, you would have had an even worse situation. It was really bad. But he really did his name is David, and he did a fantastic job. We got a little bit lucky in that regard.
As for the agency that failed him, the Secret Service has suspended 6 agents from Trump's detail without pay for up to 42 days, a slap on the wrist for a near assassination. Before we get into the particulars of this, I want to ask you, Greg, 1 year ago, it's just been a year since that happened. It's been 2 years since Trump was under federal criminal indictments all up and down the East Coast. Wow. I mean, it's kind of wild to think about.
Sometimes I like to travel to a parallel universe. You know, what if this were a Democrat? Could you imagine how the media would have reacted, how we would have been treated? It would have been talks of white supremacy, MAGA extremism, militant parents, the crackdown on all of us, on speech. But then it happened to him, and one news cycle, it was act like it didn't happen at all. Some people denied that it happened. I saw the wound, I don't know, a couple days after. Trump shows me the wound, and he goes, I'm showing it to you because I bet a lot of people don't believe it. I thought he was joking, but he was right. Because the moment I said that I saw it, that became news, you know? And then you think about the rhetorical restraint that happened. How long did that actually last? You know, demonization is their crack, and they can't stop hitting that pipe. They were back on it. And it's a mindset. It's not about policy anymore. It's a mindset that was instilled before Democrats had a chance for thoughtfulness. Starts on campus, the idea that if you see everything through the lens of power, all things are acceptable. These ICE protests are acceptable. The rise of socialism in New York is acceptable. The persistent demonization is acceptable. And it all stems from this filter that if you disagree with me politically, you are an oppressor.
So, Jillian, after that, the former director, Kimberly Cheadle, famously resigned her post. Since then, after disastrous testimony. Since then, 6 agents, we're now told, have been punished in some way. It does seem like for a massive screw up like that there might have been a little bit more of a retribution within the agency.
It does seem strange, right? I mean, the first thing to happen in politics when there's a problem, when something goes haywire and crazy wrong, is that like a cabinet official falls on their sword for the president. Nothing like that seems to have gone down here in the wake of, I guess, Cheadle standing down. But that was before anybody knew anything. I mean, part of the reason she stepped aside was because she was asked by Congress to talk about some of the details of planning that went into that day, and she had nothing, and wouldn't share anything whatsoever. So it is quite odd, I would say, that there's not been more fallout, that so few details are made public even today. I will say something good to come out of all of this is that Alexis McAdams interviewed Corey Comparator's widow today. Quite moving interview. She talked about how her family has been completely forgotten in all of this. A year later, they have no information. They have no explanation for what went wrong that day, who is at fault, what exactly happened. Pretty shocking considering, you know, her husband lost his life that day. Another thing I hate to hear people say on today, on the anniversary and all along, is that tragedy was narrowly avoided that day. It wasn't avoided.
Right, right.
A man died. I mean, and the president was shot nearly in the head, and thankfully he's okay, but a man actually died.
Yeah. And astonishingly little is known about the shooter still.
Totally. It blows everyone's mind. No matter how you vote, I feel like this is the uniform reaction, which is, how is it possible that we don't know more about that kid? Like, he's cremated 48 hours later. Where are his parents? They don't have to explain any of this. I mean, Trump was interviewed by Bret Baier in mid-May, and Bret asked him about it. He said, anytime that we push about this, we get stonewalling back from the agency on it. And Trump said the kid had 3 apps on his phone, 2 were foreign apps. In some, years before, his family had managed to afford this very high-end lawyer, even though they didn't have a ton of money. Like, what is the deal with this family? And even the guy who showed up on the golf course to kill him, he said he had 18 cell phones. We don't know anything about that. And to your point, Kennedy, we don't know anything about the Vegas shooter, right? And it's been years about that. And by keeping us in the dark, and I am in no way saying that they should tell us every single detail of these things, like, they're the professionals, and there's some information that should be shared and that needs to be kept private within the intelligence community. But nobody is buying the idea that this is just a 6 agents suspended for 42 days kind of situation. It makes no sense. And we were in Milwaukee for the RNC when this happened. You're watching the guy who was on the BBC live saying he's up there. Remember the guy who was being interviewed? Right. And that a local cop got up there, then came back down. None of it makes any sense.
No surprise to you. The government is really good at being incompetent. And I mean, they're truly incompetent about everything, but they're really good at keeping secrets.
Well, and this was also the event that shifted the race. Yeah. As you remember, Elon Musk said famously that he was staying out of American presidential politics, certainly during the last election cycle. And the president's reaction helped him to realize that we had to do something more in this country to take it back. And I just assumed, when polls started going in Trump's favor, and at the very end of the race, when it looked like, it was not quite as tight as we had been led to believe, when he was reelected, I'm like, one of the first things I thought was, great, we're going to have a massive overhaul of the Secret Service. Yeah. This is what has to happen, because you can't have this happen again, regardless of which party happens to have their man or woman in power. And, there should have been more outrage from Democrats. There should have been more outrage and calls for a drastic restructuring. And a year later, we're hearing about a few suspensions when, to Jessica's point, if you look at the timeline and this kid's whereabouts, how they were known to so many different people, including local law enforcement, before Trump took the stage, and they still were unable to communicate that to the Secret Service, to his team, to keep him off the stage when there was a kid with drones and a viewfinder on top of a roof. So the fact that the ill communication between local and federal law enforcement, that hasn't been addressed and remedied, and that should be just one small part of it, but that is truly shocking.
This is how you wind up with something that we're still talking about in 60 years. And we probably will still be talking about
this.
Well,
At least we
anyway.
solved the Epstein controversy.
And the Kennedy.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's go. Let's get out of this real fast.
Let's go. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.